Welcome to this HR talk show, People at Work, where we take up unique topics concerning the people side of business. We bring to this show unique HR, business, and thought leaders to share their knowledge, experiences, and perspectives that help organizations to make the most of their people and to leverage people and organizations for their competitive advantage. The COVID pandemic has changed the way we work and live. Many people who regularly work in an office-based job are now remotely working, blurring the line between work and home. While working mothers have always had to balance the work and looking after their family and children, the pandemic has added further to their challenges. Life as a working mother is a demanding act that requires juggling between work and family and serving and satisfying the professional and family needs. Between tending to their spouses, elders, and raising children, and fulfilling the responsibilities at work, women still manage to hold high-powered positions across different industries, start their own businesses, tend their families, but working full-time and being a mom is no walk in the park. With only 24 hours in the day, how do they do it all? How do women who work full-time, raise children, maintain their homes, and still find room for their personal time, growth, and passion? Well, we have with us SiktaMisra, a renowned HR professional and an enthusiastic mother who will be talking to us on mom at work, juggling work and family. Sikta has been a very successful HR professional for over 15 years and currently works as AVP-Business transformation at Accenture, Bangalore. She had earlier worked in reputed organizations like Schneider Electric, Manpower, and Level Spring. In the last 15 years, Sikta has been instrumental in transforming business operations of various organizations by bringing in her vast knowledge and experience in the area of talent acquisition, HR technology, and business transformation. She is always seeking and embracing the latest industry developments in technology. She is multi-talented with an impressive set of personal skills and hobbies. She is actively involved in various causes that focuses on empowering of women and children. She has worked with several NGOs and has contributed her time, effort, and money generously towards these causes. She is full of life and positivity and has tried her bit to spread a lot of happiness and awareness to everyone around her through a vibrant social media presence. What a package have we in Sikta? A HR leader, writer, painter, blogger, women empowerment, animal lover, growing social media influencer, and above all, a crazy, fun-loving mom. Thank you, Sikta, for coming on this show. It's your busy schedule, and it's my privilege to host you on this show.
Thank you, Ranjan. The pleasure is mine.
The pandemic has been especially hard on women and their careers, especially women with children. It's about time that we acknowledge the challenges working mothers face and contribute to the conditions for success to their work and life. Most of them have to take on the second shift, in which women finish their full-time paid day of work and then work on family and home responsibilities after that. Recent research at the University of Pennsylvania found mothers take on a greater share of tasks at home, and a McKinsey study found mothers are more than 3 times as likely to meet the majority of demands for housework and caregiving, especially during these trying times like the pandemic. A study by Vizier found 70% of full-time working women do all or most of the caregiving in their home. As they continue to work from home, juggling between work and taking care of the children has taken a whole new meaning. Schooling and looking after children at home places a large burden on working mothers who are also weathering the responsibilities that their employers provide them. While there are plenty of benefits that come with working, financial, rewards, meaning, community, and a sense of contribution, it is not for the faint-hearted. Well, let's learn from Sikta on how the working mothers juggle between work and family and yet succeed on both fronts. Over to you, Sikta.
Thank you so much, Ranjan, for the great introduction and for having me here. I'm really thrilled. Of course, I qualify for this because I am a working mother. But then I'm really thrilled to be here because this is a topic which is very close to my heart as I hold both those roles very passionately. So this becomes a very, close to my heart topic. Now, before I begin, I have some presentation and visuals that I would like to share as I explain the journey that I have gone through and my experiences and learnings and how I have managed it all. But I would like to say that, being a working mom has been a choice and a decision that is being made by me. And as we know, a lot of these choices are based on multiple things. Some of it are from our aspirations, others are probably from the circumstances, situations, and also by just purely maybe a financial need being a drive. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think what's important to the point that I'm trying to highlight here is that for me, it's important that I have made this choice and I'm proud of this choice. Now, would I have been any less proud if I was probably a stay-at-home mom? My answer is no. I would have been absolutely proud of that as well, because that would have been a choice that I would have made. So with this, I would like to, probably get started. I'll just share my screen. All right, so without further ado, I will get started on what my thoughts have been, around this topic of mom at work, balancing work and family. And like Ranjan just mentioned, that it's probably not for the faint-hearted, but it has been happening and women have been moving forward. So let's see, what my experiences around this point. So to start with, when this topic was, when Ranjan discussed this, when you spoke to me about this topic in terms of what makes mom at work an interesting, about this particular piece, why is it such an interesting topic? So as I started to dwell deeper into this, I realized there are probably 3 points that I feel make a lot of impact and making it a very interesting topic. One, I think today the world is a man's world. I know that we have made a lot of strides and there is a lot of effort to actually make it an equal world, but I think we have a long way to go. So as it continues to be a man's world, mom at work is definitely an interesting topic to talk of. Secondly, women are generally considered to be, the epitome, are considered to be superwomen. And the reason I say this is because, as we have seen, and and as you mentioned, Ranjan, that the scale of work, the scope of work, the responsibilities that a woman manages, is probably something that we would perceive a superwoman managing it all. And the world obviously loves to see what goes behind the making of that superwoman. And thirdly, mothers are considered to be epitome of love, sacrifice, care, and work on the other side needs that bit of aggression. So a mom at work is then probably a puzzle at work, which probably makes it all the more interesting to see how a mom at work progresses in her journey. So with that, I will probably move to, before I get into my journey, I would like to just talk about the journey of a working woman. Where does it start and how does it transition into being that mom at work, right? So I think like for every person, every individual, it starts with having those dreams and aspirations to, work, to land in a great job, to perform. And as you can see, it starts with, what I'm going to work, I'm going to, prove myself, prove a point. And I think that's with everyone. It is irrespective of the gender. And we are on cloud nine. We want to achieve it all. The second phase, which I jokingly call it as a merger or acquisition phase, is the marriage phase that comes in. And we realize that we are under new management, and I say this because truly that's how it is, right? So, and here at this stage, again, our role changes from just managing yourself to managing two sides, right? It is managing a family, the new, management that you have entered under, and of course, your professional side. So there's a personal side, there's a professional side, which starts to take a lot of focus. So at this stage, of course, this again applies to everyone, to both the parties involved over there, where, it takes time to settle in and to move forward, balancing work alongside. Now, the third phase is that of expansion. Again, because that's truly what it is, which is nothing but motherhood. Now, this is where, our discussion would start to kick in terms of being that mother and then, transitioning into being a working mother. Now, at this, the motherhood is a very interesting phase because it has two sides. On one side, it looks amazing. It looks wonderful. There's so much of love. You just want to hold the baby in your arms, and you have a lot of thoughts. But on the other side, that, as you can see in this image here, that hells will break loose if you just pick your hand off that rocker over there, because your child is just going to start crying. So, and that continues through day, night, and so on. So there are those phases of motherhood. So those are those two different sides of motherhood. But the good news, which I see at this stage, is that this is the stage that would qualify us. If we continue to the next phase, which I will show in a bit, it will qualify us to be into the category of the working mothers or the mom at work that we're talking about. So what's the last phase? It's basically being back in the race, right? So, from motherhood, we make our own decisions. We choose whether we want to move forward. But if we do, then we are back in the race. Now, how does it look for a mom at work back in the race? I would say it is, it's a very turbulent phase because you need to transition. There are many thoughts. You are juggling between different things, especially for someone who's a new mother. And the racetrack looks something like this, very honestly speaking, because from my experience as well, while at the motherhood phase, I thought through whether to move forward. I had the same set of thoughts, but then I had my parents' support, and we talk about the support system as well. But with that, I decided to move forward. But one thing which never remained the same for me was the racetrack. It definitely changed. So the journey of a woman, a working mother, is definitely a roller coaster ride. And if you see, there could be many exit points. Marriage could be one of the exit points, motherhood, and some might get back in the race and then decide, to prioritize. But all of it is, of course, a choice that a woman makes basis what they think that they would like to prioritize and what they would like to move forward with. So with this journey of a working woman, now let's try to understand, as we have, as the focus of today's discussion is a mom at work. Let's try to see, split the two parts of a mother and a professional, starting with a mother. Now, when we talk of a motherhood, rather, unlike a professional side, a motherhood doesn't come with a probation period or a honeymoon period. It just starts the moment that little being comes into existence and is handed over to you. So that's when motherhood kicks in, and you really don't have time to prepare. For everyone it is different, every child is different, every mother is different, so the journey is entirely different. However, what remains the same is the expectations, the responsibilities, the traits that the mother should have continues to be the same. So let's take a look at what those are. Adaptability, agility. I mean, and the reason I say I'm trying to use some of these phrases, which you might think, probably comes with me coming from the HR transformation background. But then I feel that, we can draw that relation very closely, because that's literally what one does in a professional life and on the personal side. So a mother needs to adapt to the situation as quickly as possible, because there's literally no time to think through, make a choice, go slow, learn. It's on the job learning. So adaptability is very important. Agility, of course, becomes extremely important. Availability, even before the mother realizes, she's just out there having sleepless nights, working around the clock. So availability is not a choice, it is a mandate for a mother. Continuous learning, yes, of course. I mean, I think that's again a mandate, because like I said, it's different. Motherhood is different for everyone. Children are different. So it's just a continuous learning process, and turnaround time being, I don't know if there's something like a turnaround time 0, but that's what it is. Like, it's instant. It needs to be done right then, and there, and almost everything becomes critical. Maybe as the kids grow, probably, we would have a little bit of leeway, but still, most of the times, everything comes in as a critical matter to a mother. And of course, continuous improvement, periodic iterations, changes to the way we are doing something based on, how things are progressing. So that goes without saying. And family management, socializing, I think these are things that we have heard enough. Scalability becomes a very important factor for a mother, because one is probably managing not just one child, managing multiple child, because that probably is the scale of her work. Secondly, mother also, is expected to play multiple other roles. For example, a mother has to step in as a teacher, probably. A mother has to step in as a nurse. I mean, honestly speaking, I had no clue about all of it. But then, and nursing a child versus nursing an adult is very different. So you're expected to play those additional roles. You're expected to scale up. And that is what, is an expectation of a mother. Now let's take a look at the expectations of, or the requirements, roles, responsibilities of a woman on the professional side. As you can see, almost everything stands the same, because adaptability, agility, availability, continuous learning, quick turnaround time. You need to continuously improve on yourself. Constant checks to see how you're doing. Scalability. I think we have heard enough of it. I'm not going to dwell on that. But then, if you see that both the sides have the similar set of expectations, at least the roles, the traits that are required remain the same. But, the way I would define a mom at work at this stage would be that it is basically one individual bestowed upon 2 full-time jobs, and not even at different shifts, probably managing it all at the same time, So how does then a mom at work look like? To me, this is how a mom at work would look like. And rightly so, right? Because if you shoulder responsibilities which are double, you definitely need to have those multiple hands to help you with it. And I was really surprised, because this was an image that was in my mind as I was thinking through, and as I started to put the presentation, I was wondering, maybe I should make it more visual. So let me see if I get some image from Google, and I was surprised to see that the moment I type in a mom at work, these are the type of images I see of women with multiple hands. And as we saw the responsibilities, I think it's justified in the current state of things that a working mother is depicted this way. All right, so now that we sort of discussed about the responsibilities, let us take a look at what is the state of mind of a working mother, right? To me, this image over here speaks volumes of what a mother goes through. So let me just take a minute to explain this. So if you see, a mother is, constantly thinking of, what her child's needs are, what are those things that are on top priority for her child. She's also thinking of those household chores which are probably not attended to and which are just going to pile up. How does she plan that? She's also thinking of, feeding her child, money for her nanny, which means ensuring that her support system continues and she's well enabled. All of this with the thought that she has to rush to begin her professional day, right? So what is the state of mind, that she must be going through? To me, it is a lot of stress. Now, once she is at work, of course, work comes with its own set of expectations, deliverables, timelines, and that's something that, of course, if we choose working as, if we make a choice of being a professional and working, we need to adhere to certain things. So with this comes work pressure. And we work through the day, and let's say we get back home, and this is probably a pre-pandemic situation where a mother is getting back home. Maybe things are pretty much the same, just that the mother now locks herself inside a room as she starts to work. But then she gets back home only to realize that maybe she has forgotten that she had a few kids back at home. So what seeps in is a mother's guilt. And the reason I mentioned, while there could be many more things which probably is playing in a mother's mind, but at least from my experience, I think these three things play a major factor. And the one on the top of the list is the mother's guilt. Because, those few extra minutes, let's say I'm taking a tea, after office hours, I need a cup of tea, and I step out with my colleagues to have a sip of tea, and I come back home and I see my kids running to me, I would definitely regret having that one cup of tea. So that's where the mother's guilt plays in for everything, things that we are not to be blamed for, things that probably, we can take the blame, but everywhere the mother's guilt plays a major role. So that's the state of mind with stress, work pressure, mother's guilt, and with time, probably things change a little. Some of it soften down as kids grow. But I think for a major part of motherhood and the major part of the career, which is the woman is coming back, the mother is coming back into the race, I think these three things play a very big role in the state of their mind. So in spite of all of this, we saw that mothers are depicted with those multiple hands, and there is that pressure, there is stress, and there is mother's guilt. But we see women moving forward. And what is it that keeps us going? So I like to call it the circle of motherhood, basically similar to the social circle that we talk about, right? So, and the reason it is a circle, not a square, not a rectangle, is because circle is what will enable the flow forward. So that's why it's the circle of motherhood. And what does this circle really contain? Let's take a look. Building a strong support system is the first element of the circle of motherhood. So what this really means is basically consciously, unconsciously, I think when we make the decision to start working or to get back into the race, there is the support system that we start looking for to ensure that we keep our family and kids safe while we are at work. Now, how do we do that? There are multiple options. For example, a daycare, or maybe we leverage the help of our parents, relatives, in-laws. Probably we look out for nanny services who can stay back at home while we are away at work. And then, very importantly, also the neighbors and friends that we have who would step in at the time of need when we are not around. So these are basically a few things around how we build our support system, especially if I have to relate it to what I went through. I think at different stages, I tried to use, the different support system options that I had, depending on my child's age, depending on my requirement. I started off probably with my mother helping me manage my son. About a year from there, I moved on to taking nanny services so that I could move, I could take my mom off that responsibility and I could be more independent by myself. So I took the help of a nanny service. As my son grew, maybe up to 2 years, as he moved to a 2 or 3 years pace, is when I decided I can put him in daycare because I will have good support. There is enough of knowledge that he can get, he can socialize. So the point I'm trying to make here is in the circle, this support system building becomes very important, and we get to choose. Not everything not all the options are used at the same time, but I think we make a conscious decision depending on the need of the hour. The next piece is, of course, splitting responsibilities to manage chores, because household chores, family management is not an easy task. So what are the different options that we have here? Maybe hiring help externally, like maybe cook, or someone to help with the household chores. Secondly, maybe we talk our spouses into helping us with our daily chores. We split the responsibility, spouses, family, and so on. So that's another angle, how we try to manage that side of things. And finally, if we don't have any of those options open, because not everybody could either be in a situation of taking a spouse help or financial, have that financial expense to have a cook or a house help, then probably it just goes down to planning it in such a way that we manage those household chores. The third one, and a very interesting one, because we are today in an era where technology is, prevalent, and I think leveraging technology is something that has come to our advantage as a part of this circle of motherhood. So we know of surveillance cameras, we know GPS tracking that is available, and of course our regular cell phones, iPhones, iPads that we have, right? So how does this really help? Leveraging technology today is really a blessing, because most of the times the thought that the mother goes through while working in office is her child safe, right? I mean, a lot of the support system options that we spoke of probably might not be entirely reliable, right? We would like to know whether our child is doing fine, doing safe. Most of the daycares today have surveillance cameras. They keep live streaming to ensure that you're aware what your child is doing. But otherwise, let's say you have opted for a nanny service. So I think these surveillance cameras can be really helpful to give that peace of mind to the mother, where she can constantly check what's going on to ensure her child's safety. Now, if the child is slightly older, probably there's no nanny at home, but you could use a GPS tracking to ensure that your child is within that defined safe limit and is not going beyond the boundaries. And with that, assurance, you have that peace of mind. And of course, we are all aware of, today's kids are absolutely tech savvy. And of course, barring the infants and toddlers, I think, once the child is slightly into an independent age, our phones and so on just help us. So to me, technology becomes a very important part of the circle of motherhood, because it sort of gives us that assurance and helps us keep going. And it sort of makes us feel we are with them while we are away from them. The next part, very important part to me, is keeping exclusive family time. So for me, this becomes very important because I think, in all of this, if we need to really, like the mother's guilt that I was talking about, I think that becomes a very important point with if we manage to keep an exclusive family time, even if it's just a 15-minute time with the kid. And that's what I always tell myself, that it's okay if I have an extremely busy schedule, I will spend a 15-minute time with my son on a daily basis, but I will give him my undivided attention. Yeah, complete attention, where he knows that while my mom is busy at work, she has not forgotten me, and I get all the love from her. So to me, this family time, and or maybe the time with the kid in those early phases and thereafter, becomes very important. And of course, I have a policy of no weekend working. I think that is the basic that I can do to my family, and I ensure I abide by that. And that's something that we try to inculcate in the family, so that we have that family time where we feel deeply rooted, deeply connected, and we move forward. So while these are those four pieces that I think is very, very important, and it helps us basically to keep us rolling, keep us moving forward. But if you see, in the center of it all is asking for help. What I have observed is a lot of us probably don't voice out when we need help. And I think it's extremely crucial that as a working mother, or even in general for anyone but specific to this topic, it's important to call out for help, not just on the personal front, but even on the professional side. Because that is when probably we can solve some of the issues which we are probably just trying to manage all by ourselves. So this, I think, is the circle of motherhood. And as I had reflected on the topic, I realized that this has actually kept me moving forward. And had it not been for this circle, probably I wouldn't have progressed in my career to where I am today, and I wouldn't have enjoyed my journey, with my son as well. So with this, so we saw, what keeps us going and so on. And I thought it was interesting to also bring up some of the myths about, working mothers. And it is a good forum, I think, to bust some of these myths. And these are basically from what I have heard, experienced directly, and so on. So what are those? Moms are multi-handed. I would like to say that we just have the two hands, structurally, nothing different. Depictions, yes, because of the current situations, but just to get the point right, we just have two hands. Women are born mothers? Absolutely not. It is a learning. And honestly speaking, today we are shouldering that responsibility, but not necessarily. I have seen men who have been absolutely great and have done a fabulous job at probably being mothers for their kids. Not too serious about work and career, not too reliable. We hear that. I mean, we could be in denial of it, but we do hear this because, I've personally seen, heard things where, probably something on a serious note, a project which is extremely crucial. Maybe we can keep the mother out of it. She will need to focus on her family and son. Maybe timelines would not, be met, and so on and so forth. No clue on finances. Well, I think I don't think I need to even say we have enough of women who have been in investment banking, leading finance industries, and so on. But we often get to hear that, oh, women maybe not too good at finances. Probably I should have also included driving, but yeah, I don't have it here. But yeah, and then lucky to get paid maternity leaves. I mean, I have myself heard this, but I would just like to say that I'm happy to trade, the maternity leaves with my spouse. I mean, I would have loved to be back at work rather than rocking my son and having those sleepless nights. Primary caregivers in today's scenario, yes, but I think that's shift that needs to happen, because I think the choice of who would be a primary caregiver should lie with the parents to decide who would be the primary caregiver for the child. Children of working moms turn out to be brats. Well, I haven't, I have heard it, but honestly speaking, that is truly not the case. In fact, I have seen children of working moms to be as independent and as, loving and nice as probably a stay-at-home mom. Women are multitaskers. Well, this is a very interesting piece because, I think from the time I have joined the professional world, I have always heard this, that, anything, for a lot of things, hey, you are a woman, you definitely must be good at multitasking. So I would like to say that, I think it's a trait which can be with, irrespective of the gender, multitasking, and not necessarily that women are multitaskers. We are probably forced to multitask in today's environment. But if you ask me, I'm absolutely not good at multitasking, and I'm a woman. So I would like to focus on one thing at a time, do it, give it my best. Like if I'm at work, I just can't think of family or my kid, and vice versa. So probably not very true that women are multitaskers. Okay, so we have spoken it all. We have, I think, walked through the journey. We have looked at challenges, state of mind, roles and responsibilities, busted some myths as well. But what is that? Where do we want to see ourselves? What is that paradigm shift that we are looking at? So for any shift, of course, it is a change in the mindset, right? A change in the mindset will yield those new results. And what is that paradigm shift that I'm talking about over here? Is that a mom at work, which is a topic of discussion today, should tomorrow move to a parent at work. We talk about an equal world. We talk about, sharing responsibilities. So I think with this, we will address a lot of the root cause of why women end up shouldering a lot of the responsibilities. And with that, I think a man's world, which is how it is perceived today and real to a large extent, will change to an equal world. Now, how can this happen, right? This cannot happen just by itself. So I think this needs to happen in tandem with these three pieces coming in together, syncing up and moving alongside. Change in corporate. To talk a little about this, as I was thinking. So change in corporate could mean, let's say we relook at some of our policies. And as I said, mom at work can change to parent at work. Let's take one step back, before the mom thing happens. So we have maternity leaves, and if you see, there are many countries where today it is called a parental leave. It's not really a maternity leave. So I think the progression should happen towards that. And where is it going to really help? I mean, I've been in HR industry, and I know very often, when hiring managers want to hire for a position or recruiters are looking, I mean, while we do not want to accept it, but the moment we see a profile of a woman, and especially, if she's just married, not having kids yet, is what if she goes on a maternity leave? Can we put her into an important project that we are hiring for? Will it be okay? Now, let's look at the same situation, same profile with a parental leave policy. It can be anyone taking that parental leave. It could be the father or it could be the mother. So that is where I think an equal world will start to kick in. Change in family, I think it's not just, I mean, while the outside world needs to change, the inside world also needs to change to then make it a more conducive environment and an equal world. So I think the mindset in the family needs to change from the primary caregiver being the mother, what will the child do without the mother, to accepting that working moms are going to be the norm. I mean, women want to be independent. Women want to, showcase all the talents that they have. They want to move forward. But that does not mean that they do not like the family side. All they probably want is support. So I think that change in family mindset should happen. I think people should be okay to see fathers taking responsibilities with, there shouldn't be any taboo around, today if you see a man managing the house and a woman outside, oh, you are, your wife is working and you're not, have you worn bangles, there are such statements. But I think I'm hoping with this, the mindset change slowly, we will move towards a more equal world if that change happens in family as well, and it's a collective effort. The third thing, in fact, is the most important thing, which is change in self. I think as women, we need to change a few things. I think we need to drop that entire burden that we have been shouldering of, epitome of sacrifice, or probably, epitome of love and the superwoman tag and so on. I think we need to just drop that, because at least from my experience, having dropped those tags has had absolutely no impact on my motherhood side. So we need to drop that. We need to drop the guilt. Our kids will do absolutely fine in spite of all of this. Kids can do fine with the fathers as well. I mean, fathers are equally capable of managing kids. So, and I have seen women who have left their kids and gone for further education. I've seen women who have left their kids on, maybe assignments for about 2 years, and they come back. And I think it just makes our next generation realize how they can be. It's just going to make them better human beings. So I think this is the paradigm shift that I would hope to see, and which means the desired state will not be women with these multiple hands for sure. I think we can leave them with those two hands that God has given them, and probably have multiple hands of different people joining together, playing their part of bringing up a child, because child is our future. Without children we cannot move forward. I mean, they are required, and I think all of us need to understand that, but we need to join hands to have those multiple hands and not really burden it on just one person. So this, I would say, would be the desired state in my mind, and I'm sure we will arrive at that state very soon. So with this, I think I've covered all my experience with the overall working and the motherhood side and the professional side. I would now like to probably talk a little about parenting my little fellow, who is 7 years old, and it has been a journey of learning for me as well, as I have progressed through and I continue to learn. So an attempt at motherhood is what I would like to now explain, my journey, my experience, and what I have tried to basically inculcate in my son, with the hope that it's going to make him a better person. So I'm a nature lover, and hence you see the huge massive tree over here. And I love trees because it just amazes me to see how deeply grounded they are, with the roots going so down, and with that how well they evolve on the outside, and the vastness of the tree, and also the endurance with which it stands through all the different turbulent situations. So the learning it gives me every time when I look at a tree is that what is important is the foundation that we lay. What are those values we are inculcating? Because situations will not be very conducive always. There could be many turbulent situations, but what's important is how do we grow the plant into a tree such that it can live through all those different situations. So here is few things that I try as a part of laying that foundation. One, I try to be as real as possible with my son. And what do I mean by this? So if I am not feeling well, maybe my son asks me, Mama, I want a sandwich, and I'm absolutely not keeping well. I'm not going to put up the hat of a very sacrificial and very, absolutely caring mom, but I'm going to be very real. And I'm going to tell him that I'm not keeping well. Maybe you could make a sandwich for yourself, or the alternate is probably I'll just order something. So the homemade food and all of that just goes out of the window for me. And I make him understand that, this is my current state of mind. Similarly, if I am going through a bad day, if my son comes in, I just let him know. Instead of, I know that possibly I'll end up yelling at him and, making his day bad, but I just tell him, what, I think you need to stay away from me for a bit, because the reality is that I'm going through a very turbulent, phase right now. So I believe in being real, and I expect him to be as real with his feelings and emotions, so that we do not have a made up, situation, but it is actually a true situation. The second thing is being open. I believe in being as open with my son as possible, open about the topics that we discuss, open about discussing anything that he sees. Today, we stay in a world of technology. I mean, they have access to every single information, all type of videos. What is important is to be open. So we also open that channel of communication, addressing questions. So there's nothing that is hidden from them. And if there is anything, they know that, okay, I can fall back on my mom because she's going to tell what it is. There's nothing that can remain hidden. Build trust. This is, I think this is a very sensitive piece, because the way I have seen in my journey, there are times when even a little bit of impact to this piece has a big imprint on the child's mind. So it's on a very sensitive string. It takes time to build trust, but I think it is important that we build trust slowly, steadily, and with caution. And to give an example, like I had sent my son for a camp, a 3-day camp, and he was the only 7-year-old. And I told him that it's okay, you can go. If you really need me, I will be there for you. So on the second night, he felt, that he was absolutely uneasy, because every kid over there were about 9 years plus. So he called me and he said, I think, Mama, you should come. I can't manage. And he started crying. Now, I could have left him, or I could have just rushed immediately. But what I told him is that you continue through the night and I will be there for you. And I ensured that I don't break his trust. So I went over and, I was there. So very small thing. This is nothing big. I mean, I think every parent would do it. But these are those small steps that we would take towards ensuring that we build the trust with them. So tomorrow they have any problem, they just don't run away. They face it, but they also let us know and get directions as to how to face it. Dedicated time. Like I said, I am a hardcore believer of this dedicated time. So I won't dwell further on it. Expression of love. I mean, sometimes I think I literally suffocate my son, because he's just 7 years old. So I would cuddle him up and, shower him with kisses and so on. But what's important is I keep telling him that I love him. I mean, there are times that he would make blunders and I would have yelled at him. But the next moment, I let him know that he's loved as well. And I express it so that he's aware of it. And he needs to realize that there are some actions that are driven because of the love and care that's there. So of course, he's 7 years now. He lets me do all of it. Tomorrow tomorrow I need to find other ways of expressing love to him. But I think these are the few things that I absolutely focus on, and I try not to deviate. And this is all done with the hope that I would be then inculcating some of these beautiful values which will bloom within, like responsibility, equality, honesty, respect, integrity, compassion, independence, and to live life to the fullest and have a lot of fun. So, but while all of this is there, there are a few things that have an absolute no place in my house. To start with, one is gender segregation. I mean, unconsciously, there's a lot of gender segregation that happens, and I ensure that it completely stays out of my house. Like, for example, emotions, no gender. Household chores have no gender. Toys, games, absolutely none, no gender at all. Hobbies have no gender. Grooming and self-care, it should just be applicable to all. I mean, I think it's a good thing to do. Choice of colors, pink is for girls, blue is for boys. No, I think anybody can have a choice of their color. Knowledge has no gender. I've often heard people saying, you are a boy, you don't need to know this, you can go, this is more for girls. I don't think so. I think knowledge is just power. It's important. It's good to have knowledge. So with knowledge, then the right choices, right decisions, and right behaviors can come in. And freedom has no gender. I mean, we have all heard about, oh, you're a girl, you shouldn't be stepping out at this so and so time. I believe that, there should be precautions. There should be probably guidance in terms of how, but I think the freedom should be there for all, and it should not have a gender segregation. The next thing is discrimination, which has no place in my house, and I completely keep it out of it, which is social status discrimination, religion, financial status, color, ability, performance. And, how I address this, like, for example, social status, I ensure I have family time with my household heads who would come over for dinner, and we spend time, we eat at the same table to ensure that there's absolutely no discrimination around social status. So different ways, but while I keep all of these things out of my house, I ensure my son has an awareness of the existence of all these things in the outside world. So that's something about things that I have no tolerance for. Well, I think with all of this, I think there's a lot of gyan and things that I have mentioned, but then we have a lot of fun. And I would like to say that some of these are learning. And I believe that, if I just tell him that, you know what, grooming is for not just for women, it's for men also, probably it won't have that sort of an impact. So what we generally do at home is we just have fun and we just live it naturally. So what you see here, for example, is both my son and I doing a facial. And if you see, he's worn a hairband which is same as mine. So there's absolutely nothing like a, discrimination of color, and he had no objection to it because that's the norm in the house. So that was just a snippet of what it is, and we keep putting this up on social media because I believe that, just like the way I have been inspired by a lot of other moms, someone can get inspired by me too. Similarly, on the other side, you see boys talk, and it talks of simply periods. I mean, periods is a topic which is a very taboo topic, but I ensure that, at home, it is just periods. And we talk about it, we have discussions, my son knows about it, and a quick snippet of, how this video looks like. This is not the entire video, but I just wanted to bring up a snippet to say, what are the different things that we can do to make it more fun and not very, like dictating terms out to the kids. So we can have them more involved and yet have a lot of fun and learning. So to wrap it, I think I just want to say that it's not just all about the serious talks. There's a lot of fun, and fun not necessarily means, doing something very perfect. We just have some crazy times. We let ourselves completely loose, irrespective of what people think, irrespective of, in that moment, what matters is how we feel. So before I probably formally end my, thoughts, I would just play this with the hope that, we would all enjoy it together. that's totally what we are, and how I think I have been balancing my work life and my personal life and spending time with my son. I've just realized that the best way to manage it is one, of course, use the circle of motherhood that I spoke of. And I think we should take things a little lightly, drop those additional baggages, make ourselves as light as possible, and just dance into, the journey ahead. So with that, thank you so much, Ranjan, and over to you.
That was absolutely a great presentation, Sikta, and a great insight into what a mom at work would be, right? You started off by saying that many people think mom is a superwoman. And you said that the expectation is that a mom is an epitome of love. And you shared with us the journey of a working woman. And I liked it so nicely when you like a corporate presentation, right? You talked about marriage as mergers and acquisition, right? Under a new management. Wow. Then you talked about motherhood as an expansion. And then, of course, when the mom is back at work, how it becomes back in the race, right? With all the handicaps and obstacles, the mom is expected to run the race, right? And you rightly said that the journey of a woman, of a mother especially, is a roller coaster ride. And of course, there are exit points available, and it's up to them to decide if and when they would like to exit, right? You said that there are no gestation period for women. Like in the corporate world, there are no probations. And I like the way in which you brought in your HR expertise into the motherhood by explaining the competencies or the traits of a mother, right? And you talked about multitasking as if women had more than two hands. And of course, you were very nicely brought about the state of mind, especially I like when you said the mother's guilt, right? Like how many times moms, feel guilty about not spending enough time with their family and children. I liked what you explained about the circle of motherhood. It's a beautiful framework where you talked about the support system required, about splitting responsibilities, about leveraging technology, and about time management, especially about how do we spend quality time with family. And I like your principles of no weekend working, right? And very rightly, you said that women need to call out for help, right? As I rightly say, even God will not help unless you help yourself, right? And I really liked when you talked about busting the various myths of mom, right? And just to reiterate, when you said that women have no financial acumen, the finance minister of this country is a lady, right? You talked about the paradigm shift where we talked about a change in mindset. And I really liked it when you said mom at work should now be called more as parent at work, which calls for people taking responsibility equally, irrespective of gender, and how we need to ensure that we change our mindset personally, professionally, and socially or at family, right? And I like the last piece where you shared about parenting my little fellow, and where you brought in the analogy of a tree, how it is grounded at the same time providing shelter to the people around, and your framework about attempting motherhood, right? And how, like the tree, the values that will bloom in your child, you so nicely brought it out. And I liked the stop signals where you said no to gender segregation and discrimination. And lastly, how you are trying to inculcate your ideas, your values in your son by inculcating fun with learning. And truly, those Instagram shots are very, very inspiring, not only women, even to men, right? And that's one of the reasons why I brought you on this show. And I don't think nobody could have done a better job than you, Ms. Sikta, in addressing this very interesting topic. You're too young to be a mom, but I think you're managing with the plum, And I'm really proud to see your progress since I first saw you as a young HR professional, right? So I just got a couple of questions, Sikta. First one is, where do you draw the line between work and family? Is that at all, especially now that work from home has become almost the norm, how do you draw a line, or where do you draw the line between work and family?
So honestly speaking, Ranjan, I mean, pre-pandemic, probably the line could be drawn, but with this pandemic and with the way things have changed, it becomes a little difficult to draw that line between, family and work, because everybody is at home. So, you have your kids having online classes, you're working from home. So, with everyone being at home, drawing that line becomes difficult. But I think what is important here, and the way I have been addressing this, is by, like I said, being real. So I let my son know that, like the way he has his classes and he does not get disturbed and he would like to progress, similarly I have my aspirations, my things, and there could be a bit of overlap, but I promise him a particular time in a day. I look through in my calendar, I ensure there is that family time, maybe not consistently at the same time, but it is definitely available, so that we are able to balance in spite of the line being very blurred.
Yeah, but I guess, Sikta, it's much easier to address it with your son. But what about drawing a line at work?
Yeah, no, you're right, Ranjan. Drawing a line at work is definitely difficult, but it is not impossible, because I think today the situation is such that everybody is in the same state. Right. I think majority of the people, like the other day, I heard one of the leaders speaking, and it was the exact same question. He said, I do not draw a line because I try to balance my work, but there isn't a line telling so much time is for work and so on. So I think with that understanding on the other side as well, and with everyone being on a similar situation, and, probably not, it's not just the working mothers who are working from home, but it's everyone. So I think that is where it becomes easy today, because people have that understanding that it's not easy to draw the line. For example, I let my people know that 3 to 3:30 I am not available because I need to pick my son up, from some of his classes. So I set expectations that, there are certain things and I need to prioritize them during my work time. So by setting those expectations, I think it still becomes manageable.
The next question is, Sikta, you did talk about earlier in your talk where we expect women to be sacrificing, right? Some of their personal interests. Now, the question is, coming back on the same thing, where do you again draw the line between your personal interests and your family and work responsibilities? Is there a time at all for you to pursue your passion, and then, or do you just give it up in the interest of the work and the family?
I think a large portion of it lies with the woman, right? To how to figure out what they would want to prioritize. Because if I have to speak for myself, I prioritize my self time, my growth, because I believe that if I am a better person is when, I would be able to manage things. My son would be a better person, and overall, it would be good for the family with my learning. So I would say I don't think it's about a line being drawn. I think it's about prioritizing, because probably if you had asked me the same question when my son was maybe about just a toddler or an infant, I would have prioritized him and not my self, because to me that was priority. So I think it's about the woman to decide what is a priority and then pursue it, and that's where I think dropping those baggages becomes important, Ranjan, because if you're going to hold those baggages of I'm expected to sacrifice, so it's okay, I'll let go of my time. Or maybe, I'm just expected to do multiple things. So basically the guilt that I was talking about. I mean, if you're going to hold those baggages, it's definitely going to become difficult for you to move forward, because it's difficult with so much of luggage on your shoulder. Obviously, you moving forward is going to become difficult. But the moment you lighten yourself up, I think it just becomes easy for you to see when to prioritize your own self versus probably family, seek support and help, and do what you think, pursue your passion.
Very, very, very rightly said, Sikta. So, Sikta, Just to wrap it up, I would say that as the home care burden is spilling over to work, many working mothers are said to be worried about the work performance and are concerned about being judged negatively because of their caregiving responsibilities. With children as often visible part of working mothers' day, it has led them to shouldering more responsibility as work-life balance becomes a distant prospect. Companies should take a step back and create policies and ensure there is a company culture that is conducive for working mothers. Alongside, we need empathetic managers and an empathetic culture, which will actually help create the space for women to make the choices they need so that they can juggle between work and family. The hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. So motherhood is sacred. It's critical we support mothers because they make a huge contribution through their work and to families, children, and communities. We must realize that by prioritizing mothers and putting conscious effort into creating better conditions for their success at work, we pave the way for the whole of our communities to succeed. Thank you, Sikta, for your wonderful insights and for a very creative presentation of your ideas and articulating it in a way which is so lucid and interesting for all of us. Thanks to all our viewers and patrons for watching this episode of People at Work.
Thank you, Ranjan.